Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Biggening Corporation. I mostly have recovered my voice from a weekend live stream that went much longer than anticipated, but we are back in business today, and today's primary goal is all about bots again. And as you've probably noticed if you've been following the series or watching any of the archives, this game is all about bots, so we spend a lot of time on them, but that's okay. What we're going to be focusing on today is the idea that in my head is that much like the items have three different tiers of different classes of items and things like that, that we would support a similar tiered structure to bots, and that different bot tiers would be more effective but also more expensive than others. And to that end, we are going to need to create some infrastructure around that so that our bot tiers can have material requirements beyond just the pricing. My voice is still breaking. And we are also, with that material set of requirements laid out for the different bot tiers, we are going to then be able to revisit the bot buying process and actually put some price tags on these things. We'll see how far we get with this today. It's kind of a complicated topic, so we'll see. I'm anxious to make lots of progress on this, so we'll see how we do. So the general idea of the bot tiers is that there is the bot templates that a system administrator will be able to make, and each of these bot templates drives some of their basic information like pricing, their operations. We may have to recaption some of these because we've repurposed some of them depending on the different types, so we'll see how that plays out. But we have no infrastructure here to say that when a player is buying this bot, that this is a tier 1 bot. There is no ability for us to create anything other than a basic price on a basic price on this bot, so we need to have a subsidiary table where we can specify that these different bots will cost different items. For example, we might decide that something costs 1,000 euros, but also requires a drone kit and some additional simple circuits, which are all different parts in our master item table. And since this is an intercompany template table where we have data across all the ecosystem, we cannot use the item table. After all, that gets populated as the player researches items. But instead we will use the master items, so that shouldn't be too crazy. I'm inclined to leave the monetary cost aspect up here in this, but we should also have some way of indicating what tier a bot is numerically, which is mostly a reference value, mind. I don't think we calculate anything based on that. Let's see. So we also go through the higher tier bots first when we're going through dispatcher, so the bigger bots are theoretically faster as well. So we've already got the ability at the bot instance level to set what tier a bot belongs to, and we even have that on the template. We just didn't add it to the page, so that's a quick fix. Let's start there. So, as we learned, there are lots of habits that it's going to be very difficult for me to override, but as it turns out, there are some brilliant functions here in the Waldo extension pack that we talked about in the live stream. Oh my gosh, need to use it. So check this out. Here I am on the field, add multiple fields. I want to add the bot tier. Okie doke. Done. 2 clicks, well, three clicks, but bam, no typey. That'll help. Okay, super duper. I don't know. I guess there's a cache file that is currently tripping up the compiler. That's funny. Okay. excuse me. Go away. I'm going to assume, since it's cache file, that it doesn't matter and we can get rid of it. Alright, so there's that. Now we need bot template material requirements, which is quite the mouthful for a table name. So let's call it bot template requirements table instead. That should be a little easier to work around here. So under our bots, we will do a new table. That is our BCS bot template requirements. Which I feel like we have a requirements table elsewhere. I think it's under the research and prerequisites, similar sort of idea. Which, while we're at it, let's just go take a peek at that. So this potentially was a table where we had requirements for a given research, and we had a line number on that one. And since it's a page, we can auto split key instead of auto assigning the line number. And we had requirement types of materials, and then what item number was involved. Okay, yeah, we don't have to go anywhere near as complicated on this one because we're only going to do items. So we want to have from our bot template table a code 20, so that'll be our bot code, bot template code specifically. And then we will have a line number, which again we're going to be editing in a page view, so we don't have to assign a number. We'll use auto split key for that. We then need to decide what master item number, and we also should decide quantity. Great. And for our stream, all of these are system metadata. Towards the end, when we are going to start having people play in this little game, we are going to have to go back through some of the player values and set some of the data classifications for GDPR purposes, because then it's a database storing personally identifiable information for real people, and that's a whole different game. Anyways, so now we'll just do a quick table relation to the BCS bot template table. Ta-da! Alright, fantastic. We could, if we were feeling aggressive about validating that our system administrator here is not going to do something crazy, we could create a check that makes the master item number unique as well, forcing them to only have one of each item. I'm indifferent to that. Who cares? If they want to do multiple lines, they're the weirdos. They can have fun with it. Okay. So now we need a, my thinking is for this one, when we look at our research setup, we have, interesting, I thought we had done it as a page header. I might have to go back and rewatch my own research, as there is a sub-page. Did we not link it? Research setup, repeater. Yeah. And then we have a part research subpage, which is where? Real quick, we're going to fix that because we are going to do a similar thing. Technically, that's interesting. I wonder why that part doesn't show. I'm presuming it's a page type issue that because I am using a list up here, it will display the repeater, but the part is not considered valid in a list situation. That's my thinking. because, oh, well, now I'm on the wrong place, so that's not going to help me. This is the research list for a given player, but the research setup should have... Huh. Well, that's peculiar. I would have thought we had to have had that working at one point because we set up some requirements for these. Well, that's bewildering. Yeah. Okay. I am a little baffled by that one. Because, yeah, it's just not showing up. Okay. Well, regardless of that, then, I guess we will just go on to our usual bot template here. And I think we will do a flow field that shows the total count of the lines of material requirements, and then we'll just pop open a subpage. I think that's perfectly serviceable in this case. So we will go back here to our bot template list page and create. I always scroll down when I could just collapse. Yeah. Habits. It's easier to upgrade a database than it is to upgrade a developer brain to unlearn habits. Alright, so this is a navigation in my point of view, and now we have from our AL toolbox a very simple R action template. Bam! Here is all the stuff we need. So we want to see the requirements. And our caption on that is requirements. This comment section here can be used by a couple of the other clever extensions that are in the extension pack to automatically translate things straight out of this comment, which is pretty cool, but I'm not going to make use of that right this moment. And for images, I am going to borrow I think bill of material versions looks like the best image for the job. It looks nice as far as a requirements thing. Why not? And then our trigger run actions, we could do this in an on action, but we can also do this on a run object, which is what I'm inclined to do. So we'll run object page, but we do need a bot template requirement page, which we don't have, so we'll have to fix that real quick. But thanks to our handy-dandy wizards, we don't have to spend much time on that. Bot template requirement list. And this is coming from the BCS bot template requirement, which is a list, and it is a usage category none. I don't want this to be searchable in the navigation area. This is just visible from this process. So very simple, master item and quantity. Great, and we want on this auto split key to equal true, because our line number will take care of that for us. And we don't need application area all when usage category is none. Okay, fantastic. And that is, I believe that. Now, let's save that so we can reference it. Run object on our page, BCS. Thank you. Bot template requirement list, and the run page mode should be edit. And run page. I believe I want link. is going to be on bot template code equals field code. That seems about right. Let's publish and go find out. As I mentioned in my live stream, I'm going to have all sorts of weird commands in my command palette because we were test driving lots of different functions. What does this do? What does that do? Alright, bot template list. Yeah, it's still rendering, so. I'm being impatient. There's my little one, which means it is still in the process of publishing. There it goes. Okay, so now we have requirements, which interestingly, despite the pretty image in our visual, now is just showing as a folder. That's boring. Okay, well, fine then. So if we go to purchasing bot here and we say that this, did we not create the table relation? We did not create the table relation. We went to go add a new master item and it's not related to anything, so no drop down. BCS master item. Okay, that's simple enough, and as usual I prefer to blank 0 on many decimals, not all. Decimal places, 0. We are a non-decimal system. Alright. Let's see. Tick, tick, tick. If we just scrunch that closed, we can keep an eye on that. Handy. For the most part, I typically, during this live stream especially, have it set to not launch my browser when it is done, so that way I can simply refresh the page. It keeps my window placement happy. If you are developing like that, it is pretty handy to just do this, so that way you can keep an eye on your publish to see if it's done. So as you can see, we're on the wrong role center, and that means that my service tier was still rendering, although curiously we are in Kronos, probably again from my weekend live stream. So let's pop back into the master data company, and by the time we get there, the service tier will have finished with the publish. Good. Nope. Definitely not. Sales order processor is not going to help us. We will be definitely doing some roll center work this week. I'm tired of seeing the sad little broken roll centers. They are seeds of useful, but they are not themselves useful. Okay, so now in our purchasing requirements, we will say that this requires, I don't know, tool wood and some simple circuits. Just one. It's a toy soldier bot, sure. Something silly like that. Now, I do want to make sure that the requirement linking worked correctly, and it appears to have. Good. Okay. Always check that and make sure your links work if you do a subtable. Pardon one moment. Just simply go to another record and see if you still see your data. Okay, so that's a nice and simple fix. We added the bot template tier to our layout. Yeah, they are here as zeros, which I'm going to leave instead of having blank because I want to see that these are 0, and that's kind of a problem. And then we should add a little flow field to show the count of different material requirements on this right next to the base price, so that way we can see that whether or not they've been set to any. And for that we'll do a simple flow field just to count, which we've done lots of, so no big deal. We can, I think there's an R field, not for flow fields. That's fine. So let's do, we're going to pop this high up in the field list here. Materials. And this will be, because it's a count, I think integer is appropriate. We will not need the data classification for field class of flow field. My voice is trying to hang in there. Let's see. Okay. Calc formula. And this will look at the BCS. Nope. Count helps. Count of BCS bot template requirements where our bot template code is equal to field code. There we go. Now, with our handy dandy colors, I could see real quick we were missing paren. That's that, and we want to see on our, as I've mentioned in past ones, whenever I create flow fields, I almost 100% of the time make sure to explicitly say down at the field level that they're editable false, so we don't get some weird results, because you absolutely can get some weird results. Okay, so now we learn, save ourselves some time. There we are. Yeah, that's all good. Alright, so now we'll publish that so that way we can see that we've got our requirements. Now, with the requirements, with the ability to place requirements on some of the different bots and things like that, what we will want to do next is to have the ability to see those requirements and where we are in our ability to supply them in the bot purchasing system. So now we can see here that this bot tier is a tier 0 and it requires 10, in this case we'll call it euros, and materials, there are a couple of them, so that's cool. That works nice. We should probably label that materials to be consistent. Call me a hobgoblin or whatever for being a little mind on that, but here, let's rename you to materials, which I was hoping would do the caption, but no dice. Alright. I mean, we're being a little inconsistent because here it's rec, but that's fine. Okay. So, now, when we are creating a new bot, which we've still got this in an editable list, so we could just hit new. And we should not be able to just hit new. Oh, I'm thinking about instance. Yep. And it's called bot list in our search. I'm going to add instance to our alternate terms just so I can not get tripped up. So we've got under the new functionality by bot. And when you select our types, purchasing, blah, blah, blah. So now we've got this panel that we've never populated. This is going to show us the requirements that we need to have to complete this purchase and whether or not there are any shortfalls. So what I envision living in this space is a little 3-column setup where it lists in a grid what each thing is, starting with cash and then all the different materials, the requirements, and the on hand. And then if we, based on that calculation, if we're short on anything, next should be disabled because we don't have the requirements for that. And then for extra bonus points, we might even style the line to show what is missing. So to do that, we are going to need some sort of little table. It'll be a temporary table, so a buffer table of some ilk, that just shows us a string and probably a couple of decimals in this case. And then we'll need a primary key of like a line number type thing. Rather than repurpose any tables, I am going to just create a new resource check buffer table, and that way we can do anything custom we need with it and not have to worry about anything. Cool. Alright, so let's bail out of that process, and we are going to make a new table again. And this will be bot, actually resource check buffer was what I was thinking. And we just need a line number. Now, what I was envisioning is description sounds fine, and we'll make that text 100, just because I think item description now is 100 characters long, I think, but that's fine. Let's see, requirement, this will be our decimal, and we are definitely only going to consider the inventory on hand, but we will consider inventory across the entire system. So like, we're not going to do any crazy, you're buying this bot for this location. We'll assume that, you know, you can get the materials together and get them in the right place. Moving the materials isn't going to be fun. So, and then I think what we'll do for just ease of quick checks and quick filters and styling and whatnot, we will shortage, create a little boolean on here, and we'll also create a line style text variable. You could do this in a page with a variable, but I'm fine with pre-populating this since we're going to be buffering up anyways, and you'll see what this will be used for soon. Okay, so line number, in this case we are not going to do any automatic stuff. This is almost always going to be temporary, but yeah, actually that's plenty good as it is. So what we will want now is a new function in our bot management code unit where we will populate a buffer table based on what we are attempting to buy. One of the things that we haven't added as well is here in the bot types, we don't have a secondary selection to choose what tier. And I think we can get clever with that logic shortly, but that's fine. We'll get there. Let's do this part first. Okay, so this is going to be a new procedure, not local, generate requirement buffer, and it will take a, let's see, what do we call it, resource check. Res check buffer. This one is temporary, so it has to be var. But we would want it to be var anyways, so that's fine. BCS resource check buffer. Then we want to, when this is being run, we should be handed what? Should we be handed a BCS bot template? I think so. I think that's probably the best way to go, is to put it on whoever is working with this to decide which template are we checking for. So that's okay. Yeah, let's do that. Which template is going to be a record? Whoop. If you don't do the punctuation correctly, it doesn't autocomplete correctly. It's a fair trade, really. Alright, and then we don't need to pass anything back because we are going to be handing back effectively this var record. So, okay. Cool. So we are definitely going to need template. Oh yeah, cool trick. Bam. Let's see, was it v rec? If we just start typing record from the AL variable helper here, if we just start typing record, hit tab, now BCS bot template requirement, and this is not temporary, so get rid of that, and we tab control space. We can do automatic naming of the variable from these from the IntelliSense. Pretty cool idea, but it does build off of using standard object names. So like, for example, this BCS bot management would become BCS bot MGT. So I like it. Let's shorten this up to just template requirement, because that's a mouthful. Okay, so first of all, we're going to always create a cache entry first, and then for each template requirement, create an entry, calc on hand. Okay, yeah, yep. So we are going to need a next line number type integer thing here, because we are going to have first the res check buffer line number is 1. We are going to assume that we are being handed an empty resource check buffer. A little bit of a crazy assumption, but it's safer to do that than to do crazy things to it in here. So res check buffer, and we will create a little label, cache token. Just called money. We'll just have it be monies. Sure. Description equals, in case we want to do something crazy later, running it through a string subbed number, but there we are. Resource check buffer dot requirement is equal to which template dot base price, I believe. Do we create a useful function for get price? I don't think we did. I'm only thinking of the ability to event off of this a little later, so real quick, we have, so for example, over on the bot instance table, instead of accessing the price field directly, or power field directly, we've hooked into a function. So that way we could do an on before event in our function here and have that go through. I think we'll skip that for now, but we eventually might have some research that like reduces bot purchasing cost, in which case this code would fail us. So something to be aware of. And something to do. I think I have competing highlighting, so it goes yellow, then it goes black. Two different add-ons doing the same thing, I think. I'll figure that out. To do event safe price. Yep. And then now to get our current cache is as straightforward at the moment of looking at the GL account for cache. I'm just checking to see, did we create a pointer? Yes, we did. Okay, on game setup there's a cache account, so we need our game setup. And we need GL account, which, like I said, I generally will refer to base objects in the list of variables before my modified. And I don't know what on my desktop just tweedled, but it needs to go away. Confuse everyone who's watching it. There's a couple of YouTubers I like watching a bunch that they leave their Outlook open the whole time they record, and I just, whew. I hear the tweedles all the time, and I'm driving bonkers. Game setup cache account. So we want GL account dot get. If something goes wrong with like the cache account is not set up or the GL account doesn't exist, I'd rather throw an error. I think that's okay because this is the user generating this event and they can let us know. We could do all sorts of test fields and things like that, but the player can't usually set these things, so they can't fix it. So I can't do my design pattern of like, hey, let's pop open a setup and have them fix it. That won't work in this case. So with that, GL account calc fields balance, and so now our technically it's inventory of cache, which is a little weird way of saying it, but it's accurate. Balance. And now we're going to do, we could do a validation on the table and then say, well, here you'll see. I'm just doing a straight, if inventory is greater than or equal to the requirement, then shortage is false. So what we want to do is we don't need it to be an if, we just need the result to be a boolean. We can just assign directly from if inventory is less than requirement. Don't have to do an if you're assigning something to a boolean. Okay, and then I'm going to say if I'm just trying to think of how I want to do a line styling thing. I'm going to skip the styling for now. It's just okay. Alright, because I'm trying to have this done for today in our stream and we're ticking away on the time, so we'll do pretty after. Always make it work first, then make it pretty. So let's see. Okay, so now template requirements set range on our bot template code for our rich template code. And if we find anything, and this is me again not using our repeat snippet, which we should be. There we go. Okay, so now if we find anything, we need to do the same sort of stuff, but we need to do it against the item table. And this has a much more significant possibility that the item might not exist. So if the player is picking a bot that requires, say, robot kits, and maybe they haven't researched robot kits yet, because that's in our master item table, but it's not in their item table, then that will definitely be considered not available. So we probably, for sanity's sake, should include our master item table so we can get the description from there rather than rely on something that doesn't exist. Which does give the player a little bit of a preview of what items might be required that they haven't unlocked yet. And I think that's a good thing, to be honest. So let's see, and we want to do next line number here equals 2. Nice and simple there. Alright. So, alright, what we want to do is for each template requirement, we want the requirement to be populated from our master item. That part's for sure. So res check buffer line number equals next line number and next line number. I still don't know, like maybe someone watching can let me know. It functionally works to do plus equal. It functionally works to do plus equal as a unary operator. It has in the whole product this whole time. It's never been officially supported in 30 years. Is that anywhere going to be ever officially supported, because boy would it be nice to just trust that. Because I've not seen anything saying it's officially supported, I tend not to code it. But I would really prefer if we could use it. So, okay, so now we need to master item.get our template requirement dot master item number, and description comes from our master item dot description, and then the requirement for our table comes from the template requirement dot quantity. Okay, now if the player has the item, which they might not, so this is an interesting one. If they have the item, been hanging out in Angular too much again, starting to bracket up. It'd be a lot easier if the layout system in AL didn't also use brackets as their begin end. So like trying to keep those separate in my head, real tricky sometimes. Okay, so if the player has that item, it exists in their system, they've researched it, they've unlocked it, or it's a base item, then we calc fields their inventory. And I haven't decided, and I don't think we need to decide right this second, is whether or not we should subtract what's on a sales order. I don't know that we should, to be honest, because then we start getting to the should you count what's coming in and blah 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 blah. I'd rather just count the inventory. Inventory. And we can do the same logic that we did from up here. But we can put that down here instead. Because if the item doesn't exist, actually there's no else to do then. It's just going to go into 0 automatically, and we're okay with that. But let's be explicit, and we'll say res check buffer.inventory equals 0 in case, because a fun little thing up here is we called insert, but we didn't move off the record, we didn't reset it. So if our cash on hand was 50,000, when we got down here, if I didn't do this assign equals, that 50,000 value is still in the inventory field. We haven't moved off of the previous record yet. We're just assigning a whole bunch of new fields to it. So we could have ended up with a really funky balance in that one. Cool. That works for me. Okay, so there we go. Now we're theoretically at least spitting out the info we need, and what we now need to do is to go back to our crazy little wizard, which is the purchase. Which I kind of want to rename this to purchase wizard so I can find it easier in the list, so we are going to. And just because I am going to be paranoid about things, do that with. You don't have to do what I'm doing to change the file name of something by any stretch. It is smart enough to merge it, but I've got a bunch of other changes going into Git, and I don't want to confuse it. So bcs bot purchase wizard.page.al. Okay. And by doing it through the git move, it pre-staged that move. So object rename, and we'll just commit our staged. There we go. Okay. Just that way we don't goof up any of the other committing process. Okay. Okay. I named an action the same as a field when I did this earlier, and I didn't notice the error pop up. So we'll fix that. Okay. Alright. Anyways, back to our purchase wizard. Now, we have a small issue here in that we are bound to... we originally had variable assignment, and we weren't tied to a table, a source temporary table, which has led us to the most insane line of code in my project so far, which is where I assign a field to its own value. Good job. We don't need that. Okay, so what I'm thinking that we will want to do is here in our bot wizard, we are selecting purchasing, right? But we don't have anything here to say which tier yet. So real quick, if we go look at the bot template list, we look in purchasing and we see there is only one tier of a bot, which we also need to do some validation around. Let's add that as a to-do. I'm going to throw that, and that'll probably be a trigger on insert non-modify. To-do validate only one type tier. So that way we know that there can only be one tier 1 of a purchasing bot. I think that will keep our code really under control elsewhere. So here, when we validate the bot type, what we want to do is we want to present to the user which tier they want, but that's a good way to do this. Because it's a numeric field, we want to present to them a list of which bot types there are. So we need a little list part. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Alright, now we've got it. We need a little list part that shows the tiers. If there is more than one. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's make sure there's more than one so we can test this out here. So let's do a new purchasing bot, RB9000. Yes. This will be a tier 2. This will be a tier 1. Robo buyer 9001. Because it's a confusing robot. It's a confusing name, all that stuff. So here we go. Okay, cool. Now we need a teeny little list part to show the bot types. So we do a new little list part. BCS bot type. Sure. BCS bot template. We need to pick from our bot templates. And let's see, this will show us the code and the description and the base price and the materials. Sure. Alright, that's a little list part. I don't think we need to do anything else with that right this moment. That sounds fine. So here in our var, we will do a bot template record for BCS bot template, and here we will decide, okay, is there only one or more templates? So let's do bot template dot set range on our bot type based on a record bot type, and what we will do is if bot template dot count is greater than 1, then actually we'll have a nice easy method on this one. Let's do another little boolean of show bot templates. There we go. And we are going to use this variable to and by default it is false, so that's nice and easy. And what is that going to do? That is going to control a new part underneath our bot type field. Oh, nice. There's a cool little snippet for it. Thank you, AL Toolbox. Template picker. And our linked table name. Let's see here. This is coming from BCS bot template chooser. Yes. I think it kept a... Yeah, it had a multi-select situation going on there. That's interesting. Okay, anyways, BCF bot template chooser, and the subpage link will be on the bot type equals bot type and bot. No, that's it. Just bot type. That's it. Okay. It'll be interesting to see how are we going to get the value out of that. Because I'm treating this as a custom control. Bot template chooser, you are going to have a new little procedure called get selected, which is going to return code 20 begin which will be rec exit rec.code in theory. Okay, in theory this page has the ability to return what is selected, so we'll see if that's the case. Alright, well, let's test what we've got so far, whether or not we will show or hide the bot templates, which will be driven based on show bot templates. Okay, let's test that that is working, because we are running out of time. Oh no. I really want to show the requirements grid before we're done for the day. Yeah. Bot list. Okay, so new by bot. If we pick sales, we don't get anything going on, we just get next. If we do purchasing, wham, we get our 2 templates to pick from. That's cool. They are editable, which is not cool. That's easy. Okay, excellent. So, alright, now, when we, let's see, update propagation equals both, just that way we've got full sync on all of that stuff going on. Now, when we go next, when we click the next button, it's calling this little take step 1, and take step 1 is moving forward 1 single step. And what we do then is we need to handle some different case scenarios. First of all, this is just floor and ceiling, check that little section. And then, okay, what we need to do is, if the player was on the second, they were on the first step. So if they click next, it's inherently going to be on which step 2. Okay. So if which step equals 2, then we're moving to materials requirements. Cool. Let's just test that we can get from our curve page, template picker, page, get selected. Cool. Let's test that this works, because I think it will. Alright, so when we move to the second page, we should get a little pop-up that tells us you picked blah blah blah, whatever that template is. Come on, come on, come on. Yep. Let's do a little refresh here. There we go. Okay, so buy bot purchasing, and say we want RoboBuyer. Next, you picked RoboBuyer. Cool. If we go back, you picked RB1. All right, we got ourselves a custom chooser. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. We could do without the weird little manage. That's a little peculiar, but whatever. We'll take it. We're not making a AAA game title. So the good news is we know now which template code. So what we want is we want a little function to generate our buffer table of all the requirements, and we also need a new little list part like our template chooser here. We need a new list part to show the requirement list page. Oh, template requirement list. I'm like looking bot temp. We have a temp list? Nope. Okay. So we've got this purchase page. Which now I'm confused. I thought we named it wizard. Oh, we did, but we didn't change the object name and it got renamed. There we go. Silly. Okay. So we need a new little page off of our BCS bot. This is going to be requirements perch rec list. I don't know. BCS bot resource check buffer. That's what it was. So let's call it resource checklist. Sure. And that's going to be a list part as well. And we are going to list our description, our requirement, and our inventory. We don't need the shortage. We will include the line style, but then we'll make it visible. The shortage is just so that way later on we can do a really quick check if there are any with a simple filter. So visible false, and this page will always be editable false. Cool. And we'll make the caption on this just be resource checklist. Excellent. And now on our material step 3, we need a new part that will be part resource checklist, which is going to be our BCS resource checklist. And we don't, in this step, need to do anything. We could give it a caption. It will always be visible. It's already non-editable, so we're good there. But what we do need is we do need a way to say, first of all, that this is always source table temporary true, and we need a procedure so we can set the contents of the record's temporary variable. So set data, and this is going to be a var new data to show, which is a record, which is our BCS resource, check buffer temporary. Going a little quicker than I might normally, just because. So we can try to finish this in. New data to show dot find set rec equals. Some of the snippets use multi-select to be efficient about typing, and I haven't quite developed muscle habits to correctly get out of that mode. Okay, so we will call a little procedure from outside of this page into the page to set all of the records to be the temporary records that we are handing to it, which, since we are temporary, we will also delete all, so that way it always clears and it's always showing the latest and greatest. And then we do an because this is a display page, we also want to do if rec.find first. Because after all, we should do some motion, so that way the page knows that something has happened. Okay, cool. So now, on the BCS resource checklist here, we are on step 2, so it is when we move to step 2, we are going to populate this. So we need a procedure way down here at the bottom. I kind of want that trigger not to be before the procedures. Just a stylistic thing. Trigger should be before. Alright, local procedure populate requirements. And in this case, we don't need any major things, but we do need to have, much like our resource checklist had new data to show, we need a temporary buffer here. So I'm going to steal that so I don't have to retype it. Rec to show, sure. Okay, so I don't think we have a reference to bot management. We do not. So code unit, wham, BCS bot management, short. Let's see, BCS bot management. Okay, so what we now do is we will say BCS bot management dot generate requirements buffer with our resource to show, and this also then takes which template is involved. So we need to have the template record. Bot template is a record of BCS bot template, and BCS bot template dot get cur page dot template picker dot page dot get selected. There we go. So now we will get the template that the player has selected, and we will pass that in to our bot template. And then with the requirement to show variable now massively modified, we then, on our cur page again, our resource checklist page, we set data with our rec to show. And now we should have magic. What? Oh. As I was saying, we should have magic. Alright, come on. Now we're not validating anything, we're just displaying it, but that's still a huge step forward. So buy bot, purchasing, RoboBuyer 9000, resource checklist, there's nothing to show. Ah, darn. Okay. So we have to examine what went wrong. We still saw the message of, hey, you picked blah blah blah. Ah, yeah, it's the good old zero references. You wrote the most brilliant function in the world. Did you call it? No. No, I did not. Okay. Brilliant. The thing about this little chunk of code is if the template picker has been shown, this will work correctly. If not, it will not work correctly. And the way we're going to handle that is if show bot templates, then bot template get from the picker. If not, we will simply do begin bot template set range on the bot type of the rec.bot type and bot template find first. And I'm not wrapping this in an if, because if there are no bot templates that match that bot type, I'd rather throw an error right now, because again, the player can't do anything about creating bot templates. So I'd rather they get an error. Okay, close you. Yes, changes were made. Mistakes were made. Alright, buy bot. So purchasing, RoboBuyer. GL account doesn't exist. Okay. That's progress. And you know why that is because we are in the master data company and I haven't fully properly set that up. So let's get over to our test player 5 that we were abusing all the setup in. Cool. Here we've got lots of bots. Buy bot. Buy. Let's. Hey, material 0. You know why? Because we didn't make the bot template requirement table data per company now. That is a problem. We might have to go reset the requirements on that bot. We're 10 minutes over and I'm trying to hurry because I just want to see the resource grid populated. If we can get that far, that'll be a happy, successful end of episode. Bot templates. Cool. It kept the ones that we had. I cannot even imagine the code behind the scenes that magics that into place, let me tell you. Okay. Game setup. Did I? Cash account 1100. Okay. That has to be coming from our code unit because it's a GL setup.get failure. Yep, game setup cache account. Guess what I did not do? Try to access data that we don't have. Best kind. Invisible data. Tick, 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 come on. At least it's logical. Alright. Show me grid. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Here we go. We got requirements of 10 and we are super in the red. And we have requirements of wood parts and simple circuits, and we don't have any of those, which is true. Cool. Alright. Now, the last little touch that I'm going to do, I'm going to call this successful with one little tiny beautification because it's just I just want to do it so much, is I am going to do the style expression, which if you haven't seen, oh, hey, I learned this pretty cool thing. There is CRS, search Microsoft Docs for, in this case, style expression. Blam. Auto opens your browser and searches the Microsoft Docs with the correct scope for Business Central. How cool is that? Love it. Don't have to think about it. Okay, I want myself a nice italic red. I think that'll work. Attention. Yeah. Okay. Attention sounds good. Okay. So all we're gonna do is res check. I wish we had the ternary if sometimes. So if res check buffer shortage, then res check buffer dot line style is equal to attention, which the hard coding and not being in enum is a little terrifying to me, but here we are. So this is an example of we absolutely could have all this be validation on the table, but whatever, it's fine. We have it in 2 places, and I don't envision us having a whole lot more use for this buffer table in other places, so should be fine. We may end up using this requirement grid for research, so we'll see if we end up doing anything else with it. Okay, and now on the resource checklist page, real simple, we are going to set the description style expression to equal rec.line. I thought we could tie it to a variable. Am I thinking of style? Now I'm doubting my own sanity here. Okay. To use a variable as a style expression, but oh, it's because I'm doing equal, isn't it? Yep, punctuation matters. All right. And that's why I have this visible, is style expression only works if it's somehow visible on the page as part of the data set. And since I have it on the record, it will certainly be in the data set by being on the page. So now if we publish this, we should be able to close out of here. And we should be able to really see a nice little pretty thing, which would be cool. And that will be a nice little victory ending point here. Think. Bot list. New bot. Purchasing. RoboBuyer. Yeah! So anything we have a shortage on will be italicized and red. And I specifically picked one of the ones that's italic in case someone is colorblind, Microsoft. So that way this will be very visually distinct if there is a problem. The only other little polish that I would put on this is I need to decimal zero all of these fields because it's not relevant to the way we've set up the system. And our next trick will be when we get back the function call, if any of these lines have a shortage, next will be disabled. So I think that's a fine place to leave off for tomorrow. What we will do tomorrow then is we will finish the last little touch of polish on this. It'll only take a couple minutes. And then when we hit finish, we need to actually charge all of these things against the player. So we'll test that system out by properly fixing up our cash balance, adding some inventory in, forcing it through just so that way we've got it for testing, and then we have ourselves a completed bot tier purchasing system, and that'll be good. Perfect. That is working. Lovely. All right. Well, I guess thank anyone who stuck around for the extra little bit of time there, and I appreciate all of you watching. I will see you tomorrow, and I'm looking greatly forward to seeing a lot of these things come together. Take care, everyone.